A victory as the winter nights behold. The razor cups of mead and SKOL to all our kin. We raise a mighty roar for the hail of victory.
Vikings Game Day Live is presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Right side three. 1, 2, 3. 20, 15, 10. Touchdown!
You're watching Vikings Game Day Live.
But here's what I want. I want everything we got, whether you play today or not. Everything you got's getting poured into this week. You're going to get the same out of us as a staff, and we're going to show up with our best collective effort as the Minnesota Vikings this next weekend when it matters the most. We are primed and ready. Accomplishing all we did this year. 13 wins in this league is not easy to do. Give it up for yourselves one more time. Let's get a break on me. Go ahead, Kirk. Go ahead, Kirk.
Hey, great job, man. Way to go. We got a one-game season now. Let's go. Lock it in. Let's go. Vikes on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Vikes.
There is a special feeling about the NFL playoffs. This isn't 2 out of 3 or a best of 7. It's one game, one opportunity to win and move on, to validate what these past 17 regular season games have meant. And for the Minnesota Vikings, that opportunity comes at home. Here at US Bank Stadium as the NFC North champs host the New York Giants later this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Rosen along with Dawn Mitchell, Ron Johnson, Pete Bursich, and a cast of thousands. I want to quickly address something. I really try not to get caught up in what the national media talks about because a lot of it's noise. I've never seen a team that's won 13 games and 11-0 in one-score games get such little respect as this Vikings team. I swear they're playing the 72 Dolphins today and not the New York Giants. Again, it doesn't matter, really, but I want to get your thoughts about that. Is it going to take a win over the 49ers next week to potentially get that kind of respect?
You know, let me tell you, the guys all year long have been saying, that's fine. We really don't care. We want to fly under the radar. They can say all we want. So they've been drawing from this, right? The disrespect has kind of fueled them. So if it's worked so far to this point, I say keep it going. But I do agree with you, Rosie.
It's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you look at DVOA, you look at points for and points against, you look at how they've won these games. 11 times they've won in one-score games where the Bears lost, what, 7 out of their 8?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, which he's not playing, but Tom Brady. Daniel Jones is ahead of Kirk Cousins, according to some national media members. And so I think it starts with the quarterback. A lot of people don't believe in the Vikings because they don't truly believe in Kirk Cousins, and that's where it starts.
One stat that matters, these New York Giants all year have one win against a team that entered or ended the season with a winning record. One win, and they're -6 against those teams. So those funky stats, that's just part of the season. It's part of the game. It's part of the teams, and you know they have as many of these aberrations as the Vikings do. So it's going to be another, I think, 3-point type field goal type game.
Well, you just mentioned it was just a few weeks ago on Christmas Eve when the Vikings and the Giants met here at US Bank Stadium. The Vikings won 27-24, and Greg Joseph's 61-yard record-setting field goal here at US Bank for the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe that's the whole thing. The narrative is being fit that way as well. But these teams are evenly matched on.
This still gives me chills to see that, right? I mean, we've all heard about winning games or losing games when it comes to the kicker. So for me, yes, it's going to come down to a tight game. But that was just amazing. And you draw on something like that, that maybe the script has been flipped.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the whiteout game, you look at everything that they can take from that game. The biggest thing I love coming out of the team this week was Ed Donatel saying the veterans have taken over. And that's what you need. When you think about defenses like I played a part of, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, when it came down to gut check time, those guys would go to Brian Billick or they would go to Rex Ryan and say, hey, this is what I think we need to do. And that's why I think this is what the Vikings defense is going to do today. They're going to try to put themselves in positions that are a little bit more favorable compared to what maybe the coaches think.
We're going to go down the field to Ahmad Hicks right now, who's standing by for a playoff preview as it gets a little louder in here, Ahmad.
Oh, yeah, things are starting to get loud. Although there aren't any fans inside right now, you can tell the energy is just rising inside the bank as the Vikings prepare to host their first home playoff game in the last 5 years. Now, of course, like Mark Rosen was talking about earlier today, plenty of storylines from the national media coming into this one. How the Vikings aren't a real Super Bowl contender, how 13 wins, they shouldn't have those, or how Kirk Cousins isn't this or isn't that. One thing we do know is Kirk Cousins and this offense has lived up to the billing all season long with their expectations inside their own four walls. This is a team that is top 10 in the NFL in total offense. They're behind the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers. One thing all those teams have in common, they're playing this weekend. Now, when you look at the numbers of Kirk Cousins, no, he's not going to wow you. No, he's not a Josh Allen. No, he's not a Patrick Mahomes. But he is consistent. This season, he's helping this offense average 361 yards per game. He's throwing for 265 while Dalvin Cook is rushing for 65. Now, one of the storylines, if the Vikings want to win today, they're going to have to get that ground game going. Dalvin Cook only rushed for 64 yards the first time around against the Giants, so he's going to need to ramp that up. And of course, the Vikings want to win so they can go to San Francisco next week. But guys, I'll tell you this, Kirk Cousins has 1 million reasons to win today. Per Adam Schefter, he has an incentive in his contract that if they win and go on to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, he will receive $1 million. So that sounds like 1 million reasons that Kirk Cousins wants to beat the Giants this afternoon and move on to San Francisco next week.
Yeah, nice little tidbit there, Ahmad. Thanks so much. And speaking of Dalvin Cook, we're going to sit down and chat with the Vikings star running back coming up next here on Vikings Game Day Live from U.S. Bank Stadium, the Vikings and the Giants.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
And welcome back to U.S. Bank Stadium. The fans will be entering the stadium in about 5 minutes. A lot of tailgating going on in this unusually nice mid-January afternoon kickoff. 2 hours from now, the Vikings and the New York Giants in the playoffs. Mark Rosen along with Don, Ron, Pete, and joining us on the set, one of my favorite Vikings that I love talking to, certainly back in the 1998 season, from 1994 to 2001, quarterback Robert Griffith. Griff, welcome back. I'm sure the memories are flooding back, even though this wasn't the stadium you played in. It was the real estate where you played.
Oh,
in.
yes, same real estate.
Yeah.
Same mystique, same feeling. I get a little anxious at night, so my hands are sweating and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, big game for the Vikings, and we should take care of business.
And you've been a part of some big games. You think about 1998. You think about all the games you've been a part, playoff games like this atmosphere.
Yes.
What do the players need to do, especially a guy like Harrison Smith, played your position, to just stay calm and not do something to where it ends up? I mean, earlier today you saw the Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins with zero coverage. Stephon Diggs torched them. How does a guy like Harrison Smith kind of get his mind into this game?
Well, things are like that are going to happen, but it's best for me. I know I played my best when I played loose.
Yeah.
And playing loose means that you're in this position for a reason, right? And that means go out, do exactly what you're supposed to do. Meaning, you don't have to overthink the game, right? Let the game come to you. If that's your read, if I got to read the tight end, I'm going to just do my job, right? Start there first, and then you can affect the game in other ways, because once you find out how the game's moving, then you can be, other things to other players and be better.
You had let's face it, an unbelievable career. 11 playoff games.
Yes.
That's a lot. I mean, not many
a lot.
players get that opportunity. Which one is most memorable to you?
Believe it or not, Arizona had 2 picks in that game. It was a contract year for me. It was a statement year for me, and I thought I played up to the level. I felt like I was in my prime at the time, and it kind of all came together in that game for me.
Yeah,
Robert,
good timing.
We were talking about the disrespect nationally for this team. When you sit as a former player and you watch that, and you've seen the close games that they've had to come together to win, what runs through your mind?
It takes a lot to come back from the deficits they came back. Obviously, we got the record that happened this year. But it takes, when you're in that locker room at halftime and you're down that much, it takes a lot to really overcome what's happened and the leadership in there to be able to make those plays, to get it done. I think also the years really told me exactly how this team is, what it's really built at, the intrinsic qualities, like the block punt that they had, some of the other ways that they can win. I think they all need to call on now to win this game here.
Life is good for you right now? Everything going well?
Life is great. I'm in California still. I'm a California kid.
Yeah. You played with some big personalities, some incredible players. I'm sure the memories and the relationships continue.
Most definitely. Johnny's always a big character here.
Johnny Randall.
Johnny Randall. I love Johnny Randall is one of my favorite guys. Chris Carter. Some of the other guys that are offshoots, like Larry Fitzgerald's around.
Yeah.
I see him enough, and it's just been great.
Well, Griffith, appreciate you stopping by, and it was great seeing you again. It looked like you could still be playing this afternoon.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, we'll go with that.
You got 2 in you. You got 2 kickoffs in you.
Well, for the money they're making now, maybe 2. I might be able to run
They're all
out for
touchbacks.
Just play L1. Just sit back.
You know,
be the L1.
You know what I'm saying? I could be the safety. Somebody break through. I might be able to get them on the ground.
We throw into a break now, or we got something else? Okay, we're going to go because everything's kind of condensed today. We'll be right back with a lot more from U.S. Bank Stadium. The doors are about to open. The Vikings and the Giants playoffs, 3:30 today, right here on Fox 9.
You're watching Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live. I'm Ron Johnson. This is Mark Rosen. Pete Bursage. We have Ben Lieber coming up. But, hey, Fox Bet Super 6. Just make sure you download the app. You can win $50,000. I don't know who doesn't want $50,000. I'll take $50K. We know Pete has some outfits he would buy with this $50K.
Oh, yeah.
Probably some high boots because we know he's a guitar guy. Yeah. But here's the things today, people. On the Fox Bet Super 6, you can look at the most passing yards. So the most passing yards, my guess is going to be Kirk Cousins. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you take a look at you just look at 100-yard reception performances by wide receivers. The Vikings have had 13. 4 of the top 8 all year have been Justin Jefferson. The New York Giants had one guy, one wide receiver. It was Wan'Dale Robinson, and he's on an IR, not even on the team anymore. So I think it's going to be heavily Cousins. You just look at the numbers.
And field goal, the longest field goal is going to be the next one.
Well,
would you put your money on another 61?
Well, Joseph kicked that 61-yarder, as we know, but Gano is a great kicker for the Giants. So I would bet on Gano only because of his history for the longest today. Not taking anything away from Greg Joseph. He's capable of doing it, but I'm going to
scoring touchdowns, not field goals.
Let's score.
Right?
Yeah, we don't worry about field goals today.
And the last one is who wins the game. I don't know if we want to give our takes just yet, but we'll let you people do that at home.
Yep.
So those are your 3. You bet right, you win $50,000 of somebody's money. It used to be Terry Bradshaw. We don't know whose money it is this week, but $50,000. Rosie, take it away.
Absolutely. Reminder, the game. Oh, yeah, there's a game today coming up in 2 hours. The Vikings and the Giants right here on Fox 9. And a reminder, we'll wrap it all up on Vikings postgame tonight here on Fox 9. So catch it all right here as the fans are starting to filter in. And a few Giants fans as well. Stay with us here on Vikings Game Day Live.
It's all good, too. Giants fan.
This is Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
And welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live from U.S. Bank Stadium. The fans are starting to enter U.S. Bank Stadium, getting ready for the kickoff at 3:35. Mark Rosen, Ron Johnson, now joined by Ben Lieber for the first time in the show. And Ben, I don't know if that ex-player adrenaline starts kicking in when you know this is a playoff game, one and done, that whole mindset. Can you kind of take us back on how you felt about that and how you're feeling today about the mindset of the players?
It's odd. I don't know how you guys felt, but it's odd all day today. I'm like, why am I so nervous for this game? Like,
really?
I had this like anxiety, this excitement like I did when I was a player. Now, obviously, I'm not in a hotel room just like waiting and twiddling my thumbs and getting ready for this game. But yeah, this whole day I'm like looking at my watch. I'm like, is it time yet?
Yeah.
Is it time yet? So I don't know if I'm feeling that as just a lowly broadcaster for this game. I'm sure the players are feeling much more amped up and be excited to go.
But you have to keep your emotions in tow because this place is going to be crazy at the kickoff. You know that. And how difficult is that when your adrenaline is going and you got to do this for 4 quarters?
It is hard, and I do think that goes into experience. We're talking all week about, you know, some of the guys on their team lack of experience, some guys on our team lack of experience. These big games, you do need to take that adrenaline and slow down your mind a little bit. Your mind is going to accelerate just when the ball's kicked off and all that stuff, but you don't want your mind to run too fast. You just want to stay calm as much as you can, but that takes practice and that takes work.
Talk about the Giants, Pete Burcich. From a defensive standpoint, Saquon Barkley is healthy for the first time in quite a while. We saw how good he can be here. Is he the number one guy the Vikings defense have to be concerned about in this game this afternoon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the number of rushing touchdowns that he has, and when they choose to run him, and if you remember, it was the last game, it was so much of the run then play action. So they have to get Saquon Barkley going. They have to get our defense to make adjustments to slow him down so they could play action pass off of it. That's what Jones does so well, thrown in the middle of the field, those kinds of things. So, and that was a 4th and 2 play. We were in a 3rd down type. We expected a pass, and we were not in a base defense or a run defense type of a setup. Saquon Barkley gets in for the touchdown. So they pick and choose when they want to run him, and it's usually solo back and all those different things. And he's explosive, man. You got to be willing and ready to tackle him.
It's going to be quite the chess match, meanwhile, between the Giants defense, which, as you guys know, is blitz happy. They do it more maybe than any team in the National Football League. And Ron, how do the Vikings counter that? Because they got some studs in that defensive line.
Yeah, if I was Kevin O'Connell, I'm watching that 49ers game. I mean, honestly, if you watch the way they move their receivers around, if you watch the way they move George Kittle around, that's how you eliminate a team that wants to come after the quarterback, and that's all they need to do. If you can move around, actually run the ball at Kayvon Thibodeau, wear him down. If he's on Christian Darrisaw's side, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to run right at him, have him put his face into his face mask. This is a brutal sport. I hate to say it. I know they're trying to make the game safe, but when these guys are between the lines, they know what's going to come. You have to wear him down, so then when it is time to pass or run a screen, let him get him out of the way. And, I mean, this is, like I said, Ben brought it up. It's the excitement of the players. Calm down and just play your game. At the end of the day, the offense has to be the most composed. Defense can lose it a little bit. Offense has to stay composed.
And we'll update that Viking offensive line situation in a minute. But right now we're going to go down to Don Mitchell on the field with more preparations for today's game.
You know, you guys, everyone has been talking about the offensive line, a lot of the changes that have been going on in the past few weeks, but right behind me is a nice glimmer of hope. Garrett Bradbury will be back making the start. He's out here getting warmed up. He has not played since December 4th with that lower back injury. Now on December 17th, it got worse. It was aggravated by a car accident. And so he's been out. He was back at practice for the first time on Wednesday. Since December 15th, he was limited, but each and every day he kind of took the next step. The best thing about this is he and Kirk Cousins have been on the same page. Communication, as you know, is key for a center and a quarterback. He is the quarterback of the O-line, so the fact that he is back, hopefully they can get into a rhythm early. Now, Chris Reed, as we know, did well, thrown into the fire during the Green Bay game for Austin Schlottman, who was filling in for Garrett Bradbury. So there's been a lot of hop, skipping, and jumping going on. And, of course, person we will miss today, Brian O'Neill, a huge, powerful, and positive presence on and off the field, out with that partially torn Achilles tendon. Look for Blake Brandel to do well as he is back in, and also all eyes will be on Oli Udoh to see just how this offensive line can come together, be with Kirk Cousins, and get things created, not only in the running game for Dalvin Cook, but also to see if they can get this passing game going. We know this is a better offense when they can keep moving things around, keep people guessing, spread the field, and spread the wealth. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Don. Just great news about Garrett Bradbury and his return this afternoon. When we return, Pete Burcich will take us inside the Vikings film room at TCO Performance Center. Stay with us.
Welcome back to a playoff edition of Vikings Film Room. Now, anybody who's either played, coached, or even attended a playoff game knows what it's all about. It's all about the increase in intensity. And we here at the VEN, we're going to do the exact same thing with Film Room. So get ready. We have a deep, deep dive into this New York Giants offense and defense, and really what the Vikings are up against if they want to win on Sunday. With a playoff edition of Film Room, we got to take a deep dive, and we got to talk about techniques. Now, this New York Giants defense is really good. We all know they're very aggressive, but it's not necessarily the scheme that separates them. It's the little things. Wink Martindale is a very, very good defensive coordinator. The techniques, all those little things that they do differently add up to a very, very good defense. Now, one of the techniques that they use is what we call block blitz, okay? So normally, if you're a quarterback, if you're an offensive player, you look at this and you say, all right, good, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive linemen. We got a DB here to take him and a DB here to take this tight end. But they combine different things. One of the techniques, block blitz, is exactly this. In this case, Landon Collins, the safety, he's walking up, right? He has this tight end man-to-man. If this tight end releases into a route, he'll just take him. These guys will rush. However, once this tight end decides to block, and this defensive end knows, if this tight end blocks me, I've got him in coverage, I'm just going to grab him and pull him under, work myself underneath, and allow Landon Collins to say, hey, my coverage blocks, I blitz, I get in the face of the quarterback, get a hand up, inaccurate pass, incomplete. It's a tiny thing, but it's very effective. All right, another technique that defenses use, we used to call it the green dog technique, but watch how this thing's set up. It's absolutely brilliant. You're a quarterback, you're setting the protection. You see 5 guys on the defensive line. You have 1, 2, 3 over here. What does that mean, 3 big bodies? That means in the pass, you're gonna have your center turning this way. That's important. Big body, big body, big body here, tight end releases. Why? Because of what happens here on the backside. 99.9% of the time, you see outside linebacker and a defensive tackle, the guard and the tackle are just going to open up to these big on big. Linebacker takes running back, all done, right? Well, what the Giants do is this little green dog bit. They're going to take this linebacker, knowing that this guard and tackle are going to turn out, and they're going to work him right in the A gap. Now, the Colts do an amazing job here of resetting and getting themselves back down, but there's pressure right here. And what they take is this outside linebacker says, yeah, I can cover the running back in the flat. A little tweak, a little change, but it's very, very effective to get pressure on the quarterback. So overall, this is a very well-coached New York Giants football team. They don't go out of body. They do what they do. We know they attack the middle of the field. We know defensively they're going to give and show one thing and do another. On offense for the Vikings, it's all about believing what you see. Defensively, defend the middle of the field, make those tackles when the ball's caught, and we will see you next week with another playoff edition of Vikings Film Room.
All right, thanks, Pete. So much attention, rightfully so, on the wide receivers, particularly for the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. Jefferson making every all-star team, Pro Bowl, anything you want to say. He's regarded right now as the #1 receiver in football. And Ron Johnson, we look at his stats, he had 12 catches for 133 yards in the first game. What will the Giants try to do, maybe what the Packers did, to kind of bracket him or do whatever they're going to try to do to kind of take him out of the game as much as possible?
Yeah, exactly. If I'm any coach and I watch the Packers game, I'm going to do what they did, and which is you try to eliminate him with pressure at the line. So whether it's press at the line with help over the top, Kevin O'Connell can eliminate that by just moving him. A short motion shift. It's tough to press a guy that's in motion, and so that's the only way to stop that. And against the Packers, if you notice, Justin Jefferson was always lined up. He didn't really move much.
What about the supporting cast, too, Ben? Because Adam Thielen hasn't been used as much, but K.J. Osborne has emerged as a kind of a go-to guy for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, let me throw in one quick stat as we talk about J.J. before we talk about the others.
Yep.
You look at the pressure defense that we're going to face again today. We've faced 5 of the top 10 pressure blitzing defenses in this league so far this season. You look at the Packers and the Lions, you count both of those games. That's 7 games of the top 10 blitzing defenses. J.J.'s just gone for 7 receptions on average for 110 yards per game. I think that we're going to do just fine as long as we recognize the blitz and do a little bit what Ron is talking about. Now, the other guys that you're bringing up, KJ and Thielen, all that, just go back to last game. After the game, head coach Kevin O'Connell says to us that, hey, the reason why KJ is able to take the top off this defense is we are now really recognizing and scheming to use T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson to decoy, to pull those safeties down, to draw the extra coverage, and then we can get our third wide receiver over the top. He did just that. I expect more of that today as well.
Yeah, great point, Ben. And Ben, Pete, to add to that, TJ had, we look at Kirk Cousins here, 13 catches for 109 yards. He's become an absolute weapon for
He has, and he's a good answer to a lot of the coverage things that we see with Justin Jefferson. And I think the key for New York is going to be how much and how well will Adoree Jackson hold up. Because if Wink Martindale thinks that Adoree Jackson can hold up for just a few seconds against Justin Jefferson, that's going to allow him to pin his ears back, because you can either cover JJ or get Cousins on the ground. So which way is he going to go? And knowing Wink Martindale, he's going to want to get aggressive. Now, that's where the crowd noise and those things are going to come into play, and maybe that will keep in a hurry-up offense would even help. Just get to the line of scrimmage. Don't let them do what they do on defense, and we'll be in much better shape.
It's hard to get Justin Jefferson to sit still for anything or anyone, but Jim Rich from Fox 9 did earlier this week and chatted with the Vikings all-world wide receiver.
As crazy as this season has been, has it been the most enjoyable season for you?
Especially with the first 2 seasons, having kind of losing records, not even making it to the playoffs. So, being on the opposite side of that this year, getting some close wins, making the plays that I've been making this year is definitely, better the third year.
Teams are getting pretty physical with you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're taking some shots at you. How do you not get alligator arms when you know that this is probably going to hurt?
It's tough sometimes knowing that the hit is coming, but still sticking in there and taking those licks. But you asked that same question for Kirk, when he's standing in that pocket and taking those licks, throwing the ball. Sometimes you just got to suck it up, just do whatever it takes to move the play forward, make the catch, making something spark for the team. It's something definitely, difficult to do, but it comes with toughness, comes with confidence.
You said you want to be the greatest receiver in NFL history, and you've set these records for this franchise. Is it rewarding? Is it like, well, no, that's what I planned on doing, so I just went out and did it?
Yeah, I feel like it's like that. It's nothing that really was planned, nothing that was really, written down for the future. It's just something that just happened. Just all of my preparation, the hard work that I've been putting into my game, all of the hours of film that I watch. It's definitely something that's paying off.
Last question for you. Do you feel the chemistry of this team is different than anyone you've been on, right? Because everybody's got cash.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't motivate you guys.
Right.
But it seems like within the group, there's something driving you guys.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this year's team chemistry is definitely higher than I've ever been around. I feel like the LSU team I was on, won the national championship, our team chemistry was very strong as well. So I feel like if that team have that team chemistry, we all buying into that one goal that we want to reach. It's hard to stop us, hard to break us apart. And especially, us having these type of players on our team that can win those clutch games and, can play out the whole 4 quarters. So we definitely got guys on this team to, make something shake and make something spark. But we're on that same page, and that team chemistry definitely helps out a lot.
Justin Jefferson, who will be in line for a big contract probably this offseason. Pete, massive is the word. Before you get out of here and go do some radio obligations, Pete, let's get your final thoughts about this game today, what the keys are for the Vikings.
This is all about the quarterbacks, right? And what's amazing is that Jones and Cousins have the same passer rating at 92.5. But in the 4th down, Cousins 104.9, Jones 78.2. 3rd down, Cousins 101.4, Jones 79.7. Situational football today, guys. Situational football. Don't get behind the chains on offense, and defensively, use that crowd noise, get them in 3rd and long, and we will be in great shape.
Do you fully expect them to be playing in San Francisco next weekend?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well,
isn't that the path that we have to follow?
That's where it goes. You got to go through Santa Clara.
I already rented out your condo, right? Did I not?
It's all yours, my man.
Yeah.
If I had one, it's all yours.
Yeah, I already put a deposit down, so we're good. We're going.
We'll return with more. The fans are getting riled up here at U.S. Bank Stadium. We'll hear again from Don Mitchell, Kevin O'Connell's playoff debut. We'll talk a lot more football coming up right here. 1 more hour to go till kickoff.
You're watching Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
And welcome back to beautiful U.S. Bank Stadium. Hour and a half ready for kickoff. The Vikings to the New York Giants. Offensive lineman Nick Gates had said the first time they played here, it sounded kind of quiet, but these are Midwest people. They're kind of nice. I can say that because I went to Nebraska. I'm sure that quote will make it on the Jumbotron today during the game at some point as the Vikings and their SKOL channel will be ready and kind of to break the decibel level. And that's before Ludacris at halftime.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, come on.
He went to Nebraska, though, so, I don't expect much from a guy that went to Nebraska.
Goodness.
Yeah,
Shots fired.
I get it.
Little Gophers.
That's the way it works. Hey, let's go down to the field to Dawn Mitchell with the latest headlines and what you're hearing, Dawn.
You know, I think I have another dose of good news for you. Everyone was expecting the questionable Harrison Smith to probably play, but sources tell me that he will indeed be playing today. And that's not a surprise for anyone who knows Harrison, right? He knows what this means. A playoff game, you have to win or you go home. And he probably would play like the characters in that Revolutionary War photo, you know, if he had to have a bandage around his head, a crutch, a flute. Harrison Smith was going to be out there playing. So yes, indeed, Harrison will be playing. Now, a lot of the guys are warming up and they're getting ready. Kevin O'Connell said today, I don't have any reason to believe Harry wouldn't be there, but he'll go in questionable just in case. They just wanted to make sure. Harry has been resting, and you also knew the past couple of games they had been platooning different people in. Josh Metellus getting some valuable time over the last few weeks. So it was very unlikely that Harrison would not miss. He had been nursing a bit of a knee injury, but we know what kind of year he's had. 5 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 85 tackles. Not to mention, he is the longest tenured Viking and one of the fiercest competitors on this team. So he knows what this means. He's been in the playoffs before, and he wants to go all the way. So all the Vikings on defense jumping on 22's back today, welcoming him back, and see what he can bring to the table. Now at halftime, a lot of people, I know Ron Johnson has been loving this, Ludacris will be performing at halftime. He was warming up before the game. I've never seen dance moves like Ron's before. They were looking good. So everyone filling in here, feel good. We got Garrett Bradbury back. Harrison Smith is starting. Ludacris at halftime, setting up to be a good wild card matchup. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Don. Yeah, it's going to be, I don't think anyone will be leaving their seats at halftime today to watch that performance. Luda. Ben, I want to talk to you start with your conversation about Kevin O'Connell. This is his really first big litmus test. He was part of course, the Super Bowl champion Rams last year as an assistant, but this is his moment.
Yeah.
What are the things you think that has impressed you the most about him, and what situational management today, timeouts, fourth down, going forward and fourth down, field goal, whatever it might be, how does he catalog all those things, and how do you think he's processing all that?
I think overall he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, there's a lot going on that you have to process, not only as the head coach during game day, but also as the offensive play caller. You have to understand situational football. You have to go back and think about, what happened in the series and the drives before. You have to feel the game as a play caller, but then you also have to deal with, injuries, game management stuff. I think he's done a tremendous job, especially in the fourth quarter. The Minnesota Vikings are the number 1 team in the league when it comes to fourth quarter points, at 9.9 points per game in the fourth quarter, almost 10 points a game in the fourth quarter. And I think he does it because he knows how to make the adjustments. We have all talked about our lack of adjustments and execution in the third quarter. That's known. That's a fact. But we get to the fourth quarter, Wes Phillips, everybody on the offensive staff, they do a tremendous job of making the right adjustments and clock management. They're not allowing the other offenses to possess the ball. They put the pressure on them after we score all of our points. So they are outstanding in the fourth quarter, and that's where we've been winning all of our games.
And, Ron, he is in Kirk Cousins' ear between that 40-second mark and the 15-second mark where they turn the mic off. People have to understand that. So you talk about the synergy between the two and Cousins' ability to kind of see what he sees at the line of scrimmage and potentially change the play that O'Connell just sent into him.
And Kevin O'Connell did that with Matthew Stafford. So when you have Sean McVay and you can hear what Sean McVay's saying to Matthew Stafford, Kevin O'Connell was learning. So we understood exactly what Sean was telling Matt. Hey, this is what you're going to see. Hey, if you see a zone dog, check to this. Hey, if you see – so he can walk him through that stuff where honestly before I don't think he had that. And so now he has that extra voice in his ear to say, hey, if you see the cornerback pressure on Justin Jefferson, if you see the safety kind of creeping like he's going to go to the other side, it's man. Take J.J. now, throw him the ball, and I think Kirk trusts that Justin's going to be where he should be. We have seen some miscues early, but I think those are all out the way now. They've learned this choice offense, as you want to call it, because there's choices within this. If there's a guy playing high, you can break it off. If there's a guy playing inside, you can run out. And when those throws go places, you see Kirk kind of snap his head, his helmet. He's like, oh, my, how did you not read it right? But so they're learning this together. This is Kevin O'Connell's first year. I think we're forgetting this. He won 13 games. This is going to be a growing pain for him early because this is an atmosphere he's never dealt with. But this crowd can really help the Vikings on offense and defense by the electricity. When Justin Jefferson makes a big catch, the crowd is going to help build that, and then you're just going to see that momentum go and snowball.
And, Ben, we saw in full view last night in that Chargers game when they had a 27-0 lead how important coaching can be and the decisions you make. Why didn't they run the ball more? From that to to the timeouts, whatever it might be, use the clock. I mean, everything is under a microscope in a playoff game for a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely right. And this is a great little reference to last year when you talk about the Rams' playoff run and eventually winning the Super Bowl. And what was different about their approach? And we all know playoff football is different. We've been asking this offense to run the football a little bit more. You go back and look what the Rams did last year. Right. They were not a great running football team. They get in the playoffs. Their 4 games in the playoffs, they average 30 rushes a game. 30. We average 23 right now currently with the Minnesota Vikings. So if there's one thing that I think can change as we get in the playoffs, lean on the run a little bit more. We have a great running back, 2 great running backs. Run the ball more. You referenced the game last night. They would have won the game had they just chewed up more clock.
And Ben brought up a great point about fourth quarter offense. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget the fourth quarter defense on third down is 8th in the NFL. That's better. That's the top half, and we talked about that earlier. As long as this defense is in the top half for the teams left in the playoffs, they're 6th on allowing first downs in the fourth quarter on third down, which means they're getting that offense back on the floor. That's money down. And so as much as they've bled, they still find a way to put a bandage on it and get the offense back on the field, and that's all that matters. There's 14 teams left. There's 12 that have played this weekend. Yeah. You just have to beat one of them. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you can't worry about the team that the Vikings will be playing next week if they win today. That would be the 49ers in Santa Clara. Last night, the 49ers, after a tussle in the first half against a pesky Seattle Seahawks team, put the pedal down and won 41-23 as we look at some highlights of that. Seattle, Ben, played a perfect first half. No turnovers, no penalties. They had a slight lead, but you kind of felt that, pardon the expression, that earthquake was coming with San Francisco's defense in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I think early on it felt like, oh boy, this is just going to snowball real quickly against the Seahawks. But they were able to weather the storm. And I was really impressed with the way they were able to sustain their drives offensively and put some points on the board. But really, to me, I mean, as everybody says, it really was all about just this dynamic 49ers offense. Didn't have a reputation for being multifaceted and explosive. This is a very explosive offense now, and I am a believer in Brock Purdy. You saw the way, just right there, a small slice of what he can do with his feet. He bought a lot of time. He did a great job not panicking. He was able to find the open receiver by buying time, getting outside the pocket, and delivering the ball. He had a few missed throws, but heck, other than that, he was darn near perfect.
Yeah, this is a team that's brimming with confidence right now, and who could have thunk it that after losing Garoppolo, Trey Lance, and now they got their third string guy, Mr. Irrelevant, who's leading it potentially to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you can throw the ear out of it because he is now relevant. He is Mr. Relevant. He is one of the best quarterbacks of all the quarterbacks left in the playoffs right now. When you look at his quarterback percentage, his QBR, his passer rating, he's actually pretty good, and that shows how good of a coach Shanahan really is. And look at Deebo Samuels. I mean, let's be honest. He was wide open. That was the run after the catch. There was a lot of that yards. I actually felt bad for DeKalen Zacharias Metcalf because he played a great game and the Seahawks could not keep pace with the 49ers. And so for a team like the Vikings, I think they have a better chance of beating the 49ers than this Giants team does because it's going to be a shootout and you're going to have to go shot for shot, and the Seahawks couldn't do it.
And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The Vikings played in San Francisco a couple of years ago, and they got off to a good start. Remember, they scored the first touchdown that game, and then San Francisco behind Garoppolo took care of business. Is this a better 49er team, and is this a better Viking team?
Yeah, it's definitely a better Vikings team, but this is a really good 49ers team. I mean, I think they are showing tremendous growth as well. We've always talked about their offensive and defensive line and how they're able to push people around in the trenches. But again, I talk about how they can affect you in the passing game. We know about their big guys up front. Well, their running game is just one of those scary things as a defender because they're pulling so many guys and they hit the point of attack with so much violence. This is a great football team, but I think the Vikings could give them a lot of work. We got to take care today, though. Let's not talk about
absolutely. Keep in mind, everyone's got Buffalo going, and they're tied with Miami. They got the half 17-0, so it's the playoffs. It's one game as we talk about. The offensive line we've touched on a little bit. Garrett Bradbury will start for the Vikings at center, and it's kind of have maybe a trickle-down effect, Ron, when you look at that his presence, the communication with Kirk Cousins, and not having that cadence down.
Yeah, I mean, they've played together for a while, so I think they'll be fine. That's just a veteran being a little hurt, being out and now coming back. What you're not going to have to worry about, Kirk Cousins knows what him and Garrett Bradbury have. I think the biggest issue is going to be the timing. You know, they haven't had a lot of actual game. How does that back hold up when you have to kind of anchor a 340-pound grown man trying to push you back into your quarterback? So I think it's less of the Kirk Cousins versus Garrett Bradbury, more Garrett Bradbury versus the Giants front. They're going to use his rustiness, I guess you say it, to their advantage. You're going to see a lot of twists because he is going to get a little aggressive and want to ride a guy, and then you're going to see that looper. And so he's going to have his head on a swivel and really just communicate with his guards. And that's the key. And I know Ben has some kind of inside talk about who might play guard today, but I think that's going to be the key.
That is a key because Brian O'Neill obviously is out the right tackle position. The guard position's still up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, there was this – I heard this rumor during the course of the week that Blake Brandel may get some run at right guard. I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition. But regardless of that, I threw this out there early in the week that I kind of hope to see a little bit more 13 personnel with our offensive play groupings, and that's one running back, 3 tight ends with Johnny Munt, Irv Smith Jr., and then T.J. Hawkinson. By doing that and putting a couple of those guys on the line, you're extending the line of scrimmage, which then thins out that defensive front. I don't think they're able to use their twists and their stunts as effectively. And we can probably run the ball a little bit more effectively in that manner by thinning them out. And it thins out the second and third layer as well because they have to now approach the line of scrimmage. So stack those guys up. It gives us a cleaner read up front, and hopefully in the run game, all Dalvin has to do is make a second-level defender miss, and he's off to the races.
And when you talk about that 13 personnel, though, do you go with Justin Jefferson, or do you give him a break in that, put K.J. Osborne in there because you're more likely
You absolutely have Justin in there, and you know, because you know there's some play action that's going to come off that personnel grouping.
But you fully expect the Giants to come with the proverbial kitchen sink. I mean, they did in the first game. They've done it all year. Martindale's not going to change his stripes today, and they know that's the way to get the Cousins.
Well, absolutely. You know, I think they blitzed 52% of the time in our last game, and that was kind of par for the course for them, maybe a little bit slightly higher than their season average, but we know they're going to bring pressure, and I agree with what Pete said earlier. It can be all about just going no huddle. I'm not saying hurry up, but just go no huddle,
Tempo.
get up to the line, make them show what type of defense they're going to get. And Ron, you've seen this before. Linebackers and safeties get kind of antsy. They start tipping off where they're going to go. You can identify now where you want to go if they blitz and what type of blitz they're going to bring.
Brandon Staley last night, he did it. When you saw Trevor Lawrence come to the line of scrimmage early, their linebackers were telling him too soon of what was coming, and you can hear Trevor Lawrence kill, and then he would start talking. And he literally, I regret the tweet I sent that Kirk Cousins was better than Trevor Lawrence because he showed me why he is the #1 draft pick in the NFL. He went to work. Those 4 interceptions weren't all his fault. But when he got settled in and they started giving him early looks, and to Ben's point, when you go no huddle because you have to, so just do it out of convenience now. Come to the line. Don't allow him to sub. Let Kirk Cousins cook. Because I feel like he doesn't season his food, but he can be a chef if he has to.
I'll be anxious to see if the Vikings win the toss. We've seen it many times this year where O'Connell says, I want the football. I want it now to start the game.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, or do you think they might defer?
I can absolutely see that. You know, like right off the bat, send the message that, you know, our first 12 to 15 plays are going to get us down the field and put the ball in the end zone and put some pressure, immediate pressure on that Giants offense.
Yeah. All right, let's go down the field to Tatum Everett, who's standing by. And, of course, she had a long chat with the one and only Dalvin Cook this week. Tatum, good to see you.
Hey, guys, Dalvin Cook was not available the last time Minnesota hosted a playoff game. The Vikings running back injured. So he is not taking this moment lightly whatsoever. And I expect a healthy dose of Dalvin in this offensive game plan against a Giants team that blitzes so much. I expect a lot of the screen game today. I did get a chance to sit down with Dalvin and talk to him about his mindset and his emotions heading into this first home playoff game for one of the biggest Vikings names on the roster.
We're right where we need to be at. You know, those games you could easily lose that you win sometimes, or that you lose you winning sometimes. So it's like a small margin of getting in. It's playoff time. You know, we just got to go out there with the mindset to go do it.
Hand off Dalvin. Gets to the 50. And he's alone. Dalvin 20 to the left. Touchdown! Let the Dalvin domination continue.
Sunday is your first home playoff game that you'll be playing in. What do you think the atmosphere is going to be like?
It's going to be crazy. The stage has been set. Like, we done set the temperature for what's about to happen. You know, come Sunday. We've been playing good ball all year, so we expect that to transfer over to the postseason. It's going to be nothing different. Just going to be a little more electric. It's going to be crazy, man. I'm excited, just trying to hold my emotions together.
Definitely. You know, electric is a great word to describe it. However, Giants offensive lineman Nick Gates this week talked about playing at US Bank Stadium on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to read you what he said. I don't know if you've heard this yet. Surprised, I actually thought it would be a lot louder. But you know, they're Midwest people, they're too nice. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but they still got to show up on Sunday and, play the Minnesota Vikings. So, all the postcards and all the statements and the interviews and stuff, it's not going to win a football game.
Blitz. Got him! DJ Wonnum!
We know what it takes to go win a football game in crunch time. Whatever time it is, we know how to go win a football game. And, that just adds to, just a little more motivation to why we're going to get this win Sunday.
The second time you're facing the Giants in 3 weeks, what are the advantages of that?
We familiar with each other. We know what to expect. We're familiar with the guys, one-on-one matchups, what they're going to present on defense and offense. So it's a familiar territory. But, doing it twice is always, hard to do, but it's bittersweet when you do it. So we just got to lock in and go get the job done.
On that note, what would be the disadvantages?
I think we have none, to be honest.
Nice.
I love this team, man.
That's how y'all step up, man.
Everything that we put on tape is kind of hard to present. The smart coaching staff and the smart players we got, we're going to go out and execute, but just looking forward to something fun on Sunday.
You'll have a lot of fun against the Giants defense who blitzes over 44% of the time. What do you guys need to do to keep up the offensive momentum?
Yeah, we know we facing. Like I said, we got blitzed 50% of the time last time we played them. Man. We just gotta go take care of our chances when we get them. They're gonna blitz us. We know it's coming. We gotta be locked in and be ready to pick some of those blitzes up so Kirk can stand in there and make some plays downfield.
Lofts it to the end zone. TJ Hawkinson. Yes!
You played in every game this season for the first time. How are you feeling heading into this Week 18 game?
New season, new me, fresh and ready to roll, recharged. It's time to go.
Stutter steps, bounces left. 3, 2, 1. Touchdown! Dalvin Cook came to play today.
Well, this is your fourth 1,000-yard season, and in the Giants game last time, you passed Chuck Foreman for third in all-time rushing. Within this franchise, what does it mean to be able to rewrite some of Vikings football history?
It means a lot. This organization took a chance on me, just a kid from Miami, and to bring me, all the way up here and just give me a chance to play the game I love, and to be in history. All that means a lot to me.
How do you not just say, Dalvin, it's you against this defense. Let's go.
To come in and be productive and to be the guy that they know they drafted, and even more. So to continue on to that, just to keep, add to, the franchise list and every list that I can add to in every category is always good.
And off the field, you've helped with the Minnesota Vikings Foundation a lot, especially Vikings Table. And I've got this shirt that they're selling right now.
Yeah.
And the proceeds go to Vikings Table.
Right.
You're helping with this. Why is it so important for you to continue to give back to the community, especially this community?
Yeah, given the opportunity to, show my love and, how much, this community and the people mean to me. The Vikings Table is, more sort towards the kids and stuff like that. So, like I said, I was one of those kids one day to have an opportunity to meet Dalvin Cook or to, just to be around an NFL player. It was always a dream of mine. So for me to, help, inspire a kid or to just help a kid, I'm always here, open arms, open ears, whatever, just to be that, that guy to say they did it. I love being in the position I am. So, like I said, I'm gonna pour my heart into it.
Now you're one of those veterans in the locker room. You have playoff experience, but several of the guys in there have never been in an NFL postseason before. What do you plan on telling them this week to make sure they're ready for Sunday?
Just more so of showing them. Come game day, I'm gonna give my speech to the guys and tell them how I feel and the type of day it's gonna be. But just more so of showing them the preparation we gotta have, the laser focus we gotta have to walk through in the meetings and on the field. So just more of my preparation and showing them, how we got to get ready to go win a football game in the playoffs is going to be more important.
How much ahead of time do you think about what you're going to say in your speech to the guys?
I really don't at all.
Yeah.
I go up there and I just give them guys my heart. Whatever God's will for me to say to those guys, I say it and I don't hold back to those guys because they know everything that I'm saying, is meaningful and I mean it from my heart.
The North is on, hear me? Okay. Win on three, 1, 2, 3, win! Go!
Dalvin Cook is certainly one of the emotional leaders of this team. And as I was heading down to the field today, I ran into Rob Brzezinski, the Executive Vice President of Football Operations, and I asked him, how do you feel this team is? Where is their mental state heading into this playoff game? And he told me he could not be more proud of veterans like Dalvin Cook, who have preached all week how rare these postseason opportunities are and how he knows they will try to make the most of the situation at hand. And of course, that would be a home playoff win here in Minnesota against the Giants today. Back up to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Tatum. And back with Ron and Ben Lieber. Guys, I want to kind of revisit what we talked about the other night on Friday night. Ben, you weren't there, but when the Vikings decided to move on from their GM and their head coach with Zimmer and Spielman gone, I think there was some general consensus maybe that they're going to have to reboot this team a little bit. Here we are, 13-4, hosting a playoff game, NFC North champion. These opportunities don't necessarily fall in your lap all that often. So your final analysis before we say goodbye from our set here, what do you think the Vikings have to do to get this thing done and move on to San Francisco next week?
Well, I really think I'm not as worried about offensively as I am defensively. Like, we need to eventually win one of these games because of our defense. Not just being opportunistic in the red zone. I'm saying, don't even allow them in the red zone. Shut them down. The only way we can really do that, our defensive line has to play the best game they have all season. I want to reference the Detroit Lions game. They did a fantastic job against Saquon Barkley. I think they held him to under 3 yards a carry. They did that because they stayed alive up front, they got off the blocks, and they penetrated and made him stop his feet. If we can do a fantastic job on first and second down and create third and longs, I think this new defense in which we are pressuring and playing man defense more steps up and wins the game.
Ron, I'll give you the final minute here.
Yeah, when you think about this team, it's going to come down to alignment and assignment, and you have to be lined up. I'm talking offensively. You have to be lined up in the spot you're supposed to be. If you're supposed to be 2 yards outside the numbers, be 2 yards outside the numbers. If you're supposed to have a nasty split, have a nasty split. Kevin O'Connell, when I watched the Rams last year in the Super Bowl, when you watch that offense, Cooper Kupp, it was like watching poetry in motion. Why? Because he was always where he's supposed to be when he should be there. Justin Jefferson is that guy and 10 times better, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Rams fans, but Justin Jefferson needs to get the ball in slants, hitches, but screens. Give him some behind the line of scrimmage stuff because that will get his bones warmed up. That will get his heart pumping. That will get the blood going. And when you see him LSU versus Clemson, and he went for 4 touchdowns, that's the Justin Jefferson I want to see because that's playoff Jefferson. That's the gritty, and I want to see it today.
You got everybody fired up.
I got to see it.
Ben Lieber and Ron Johnson, we're going to send it back to the studio to Jim and Pierre after this segment is over with. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the game. The Vikings and the Giants at 3:30.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
And we continue our coverage of Vikings Game Day Live here in studio. We'll also be going back to U.S. Bank Stadium. I'm Jim Rich along with Pierre Nugent, and we are now 30 minutes away before we send it over to Fox Sports for the coverage of this wild card game. Kickoff is about an hour away, and of course, we've got to go back to the stadium as well. But first, Pierre, we're here in this situation.
Yep.
The 13-4 is dead.
Yes.
That does not matter anymore.
No, it does not.
It is a brand new day, and it is a situation where there are no do-overs. Either the Vikings win in advance or their season's over.
Yeah, and it all comes down to, who can make the fewest mistakes on a game like today? Who can really rise to the occasion? And the New York Giants here, they haven't been to the postseason in quite some time. I know the Vikings haven't been to the postseason in a few years, but at the same time, I like the Vikings in the situation. You're at home. You have the crowd behind you. You're having Daniel Jones making his first career playoff start. Brian Daboll has been there, as a coordinator in the past with Buffalo, but the signs to me point towards Minnesota having the advantage in this situation, but as you say, this is why you play the game, and we'll see who exactly folds under pressure and who rises to the occasion.
All right, the Vikings have always gotten off to a good start.
Yeah.
Right? Those scripted plays
drives,
are sensational. So if you are Kevin O'Connell today, you win the coin toss, do you try to set and dictate the momentum of the game by taking the ball first and using those scripted plays, try to put the Giants down by 7?
I think you do. I think if you have the option of having the ball, I always want the ball first. I want to send the offense out. And at the same time, you have to wonder with Minnesota's defense, the way they've played all season long, do you want them to go out there first? What if you fall behind the 8 ball?
Correct.
Right away. So in this situation, considering everything that the Vikings have faced and done and been through this season, I want to lead with my strength, and that's my offense.
All right, let's go back out to U.S. Bank Stadium, where Ahmad Hicks is on the field. Ahmad, we've talked a lot about the Vikings already in this show, so let's hear a little bit about what they're going to have to deal with. What are the Giants going to throw at the Vikings today?
Well, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. If I'm being honest, those are the only 2 weapons the Giants have that maybe put a little fear in the Vikings' hearts. Now, when you're talking about their wide receivers, I'm going to be honest. You at home probably can't name 3 players that they have playing the receiver position. Now, I can because I have to know this. I'm paid to know so, but you guys probably don't. Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, and Darius Slayton. Who are these guys? Well, they're the Giants starting receivers this season, but they're not on Justin Jefferson's level. So there's somebody that Patrick Peterson and Duke Shelley should be able to corral. When we look at the numbers this season, the Giants, they don't blow you off the chart. But by any means, in any category, Richie James only has 57 catches this year. Darius Slayton leads the team in receiving yards with 724, and Hodgins and James are tied with 4 touchdowns. Now get this, neither of them, any of them, have 0 receptions in the playoffs, so that means they won't have experience on their side today, but they will have a little bit of confidence because the last time that they played, Hodgins and James both hauled in 8 catches for 80-plus yards, and Daniel Jones, well, he looked like a stud at quarterback, throwing for 300-plus yards. So the Vikings defense are going to need to get after Jones, put some pressure on him, and let Patrick Peterson and Duke Shelley do what they do, and that's intercept the football. Duke Shelley coming up with his first interception a couple of weeks ago, while Pat P, man, he's defeating Father Time this season. This is one of his best seasons statistically since he entered the NFL. He has 5 interceptions, which is the most he's had since 2012, and he's also having a career year in tackles. He has the most tackles he's ever had in his career. So he said earlier, don't poke the bear. If you poke the bear, you're going to find out. And hopefully Daniel Jones is in a poking mood so Patrick Peterson can find out and get another interception today. And hopefully the Vikings defense can step up and propel this team to San Francisco next week. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, you're right, Ahmad. You look at what he has done, Patrick Peterson, and when we did that sit down with him this week talking about why he came back. You remember he was a free agent. He could have went anywhere. He was knocking on the door of Kwesi saying, I want to be here. And the big thing was he loves Ed Donatell's defense. He's been in it before. He loves working with him. And he knew the changes they were going to implement would help his game. So that is a big reason why I think he's had such a good season, is that rapport he and Donatell have built over the years.
And they've really needed that type of consistency from him all season long, because if you look on the other side of the field, Cameron Dantzler has been in and out of the lineup all season long. Cameron Dantzler, by the way, inactive for today's game. So that opposite starting corner spot has been up and down all season long. And Patrick Peterson has been the steady presence on the other side of the field that the Vikings have needed all season long.
All right, let's get more into this Giants team, because everybody nationally is saying, oh, this is a layup for them today. But I don't know where they're seeing all this.
I don't understand why anybody would think that whatsoever at this point with the New York Giants team that has played well all season long. Got off to the hot start. You remember, Jim, they were 4-0 or 5-1, something like that, and then whittled a little bit down the stretch, but they leveled things out a little bit. Brian Daboll, in his first year as the head coach of the New York Giants, the last time these two teams met, the Giants had little trouble moving the football. New York compiled 445 yards of total offense. Daniel Jones, you heard Ahmad Hicks talking about him a moment ago, having his best season as a pro, can also get the job done with his legs. Jones rushed for over 700 yards this season.
That's trouble.
Yeah, that's a dual threat quarterback like that. You always have to keep your eye on him. And, of course, you always need to be on the lookout for Saquon Barkley, who scored a touchdown in the last game that the Giants played the Vikings here a couple of weeks ago. So defensively, led by Dexter Lawrence, a guy who had 7.5 sacks. Remember, Pete Burcich was on this. That was the first name out of his mouth when we were talking about the New York Giants this week. So Dexter Lawrence, a guy to keep your eye on, especially if you're a member of that offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, well, it seems like the division's been locked up for months for the Vikings.
Feels that way.
And so the fan base has been kind of eagerly anticipating the next step, right? Well, Amy Hockert is out there with some eager Viking fans. She joins us from outside U.S. Bank Stadium. And Amy, what is the temperature of this fan base? Are they confident, or are they thinking back to what's happened to the Vikings in seasons past?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jim. You know, you've been doing this long enough to know that if there's optimism and skepticism, Vikings fans like to live somewhere in the middle, right? A lot of people waiting for that other shoe to drop. But you know what? It's been great out here today. The fans, as you said, have been waiting all week. It's felt like a week that's lasted an eternity for a lot of these fans. But, you know, the great thing about having a late afternoon game is that it gives you more time to get pumped out. So people have been out here, and let's face it, January weather in Minnesota, it just doesn't get any better than this. So, yeah, the tailgating game has been strong all afternoon. These fans have been waiting for today. They know what's on the line. It's win or go home. Definitely some nerves and some butterflies out here, but there are also a lot of these fans who say, you know what, we have been all in all along.
Never a doubt. We've been saying it all season long now. Let's go Vikings!
All right, how about Indy? Was there a doubt at the Indy game?
Never a doubt. Some guys wanted to get the keys to come back to the car to get their stuff. My wife's like, no, they can't leave yet. It's the biggest comeback ever. Never a doubt!
Defeated Vikings destroyed the New York Giants.
Well, we also ran into quite a few Giants fans. They're, well, still pretty bruised after that Christmas Eve game where the Vikings pulled the rug out from under them. But even they agree this is going to be a close one.
If the Giants pass the ball well, because the Vikings don't really have a good secondary, if we just take advantage of that, I think we can maybe pull out a win and move on.
Everybody's very friendly, I have to say.
Yes.
They welcomed us.
Fans,
very friendly people.
No.
We can't go to that game.
That's right. We call Minnesota nice. So welcome, and we hope for a good game, right?
Yes.
Healthy game.
What do we do now?
That's right. We scolded them. We scolded them. Yeah, that's what we did. It's hard to come back when you've been scolded, guys, right? It's hard to come back from that. They had nothing to say, but no, all the Giants fans, and there's a lot of them here, really talked about how they felt that it's a friendly camaraderie. Again, we can all agree that at least it's not Philly. And that's, that's some common ground there. So, yeah. So, no, it's been really fun out here. Everybody's ready to just get this thing going, though.
Right. Nobody threw a beer bottle at you, Amy.
Thank
if it was
goodness
Philly
for that.
fans, you
Thank
would have been
No, nobody's climbing light poles.
No.
It's all good. Very friendly.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Amy. We appreciate it. Plenty more to come here on Vikings Game Day Live. Earlier, I sat down with Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins as he prepares for his third ever playoff start with the Vikings. That's next. You're watching Vikings Game Day Live, Wild Card Edition.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Welcome back, everybody, to a special wild card edition of Vikings Game Day Live. We are less than an hour away from kickoff between the Vikings and the Giants.
Yeah, and we know how special the playoffs are, especially for these players. They don't get a lot of chances at these opportunities, and Kirk Cousins knows more of that than anyone. He got his first playoff win as a Viking against the Saints, and earlier I sat down with him as he goes for playoff win number 2. have been a lot of entertaining seasons. Is this the most entertaining you've been a part of?
Certainly. When you think about the close games, the last play finishes, it has been an entertaining season. Bit of a roller coaster, a lot of wins, but I do feel like it's taken years off my life.
Usually you're like, oh boy, here we go again. And now it's like, all right, somebody's going to do something. I don't know who, but there's got to be that feeling on Sundays that someone's going to do something here.
Yeah, certainly. And when we've been down in the fourth quarter and there's still time on the clock, there's a belief that, we can come back. We've been there before. We can do it. But like you said, it could be anybody.
It's something more that has to really pull a team to become a great team. Is there something like that that's happened this year in your mind?
Well, I think winning will always bring people together.
Sure.
And so even if it's a toxic culture, but you're winning, it feels like you have good chemistry. But I do think that we have a great locker room. I think we had a great locker room when we were 500. We're a group that has played together for a while and trusts each other and believes in each other and has learned what it takes to win. And I think, we've been able to find those inches this year.
We've all seen the videos, right? And they're funny, but it had a deeper meaning, right? Because you put your guard down. This isn't my world, right? You're trying to figure out how much grills cost and what I got to get, right? But you're letting your guard down to be part of the team because this is what those guys want, and they want to include you into it. Do you
when we won at London and you have a 8 or 9 hour flight home, we're all looking for ways to make that flight enjoyable, especially after a win. And so there was a boombox blaring music, and guys are usually dressed pretty nice for away games, and so the jewelry was out, and next thing you know, it was on me, and I'm gonna lean into that and have fun with it, and we did, and I think it just continued because we kept winning, and then next week you win, the next week you win, and so you have another flight home from a game where you're putting it on, and it's just been a fun thing, and it's been, again, fun because it's a whole team thing.
What's worse, getting sacked or making a throw knowing you're going to get hit?
Yeah, the hits when you're delivering a throw hurt more, but when I get hit, especially like at a home game, I'll wait for the crowd's reaction, to know, like, was it a touchdown, was it a completion, was it a third down conversion, based on if the crowd gets loud. So, but there have been several this year, to Justin and to others, where you make the throw, you get hit, you're on the ground, and the crowd goes nuts, and you're thinking that's a good sign. And then you look up and try to put the pieces together.
Going into the playoffs, how different is it from a normal Sunday?
I think playoff football, it certainly ramps up. I think the sense of urgency on every snap maybe picks up a little bit. There is that added emotion, that added energy that you feel in the crowd and you feel in the way that guys are playing. When you go on the road and you go to Miami and you go to Washington, you feel like the crowd is 40-50% Vikings fans. That makes such a difference. It's such a blessing to play for a team with that kind of support.
Well, we are now inside of 1 hour until kickoff between the Vikings and the Giants. Let's go back out to U.S. Bank Stadium, where Don Mitchell and Gabe Henderson are standing by with their winning formula. Guys, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. You can hear the boos as the Giants begin to take the field. It's not for Gabe and myself. But Gabe, when it comes to the winning formula, let's start first with the defense.
Yeah.
You have Harrison Smith back. The Vikings need to be solid, can't give up chunk yardage. So important.
Yeah, and a lot of that chunk yardage last time we played the Giants came on play action passing. So we have to play really sound deep. When it comes to playing with our eyes, our linebacker unit has to play with our eyes. Understand their keys, trust their keys, play sound, disciplined football, because they're going to try to use that play action passing, but they're going to try to set up the run with Saquon Barkley to do that. So I believe our defense is equipped enough to be able to stop both, but how you do it, when you do it, is what's going to matter today.
And playing loose.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you play loose, you win today's game. There are 31 players on this Minnesota Vikings team that have never played in the playoff game. So this is their first time playing. So there's going to be a couple of moments where you see a lot of guys looking around, seeing what's going on. But at the same time, you got to lock in and understand that this is just another game. So I'm excited to see what guys turn that switch and get ready for gameplay today.
We've also heard about Dalvin Cook and how he's hungry for this game. The running game has to get started early.
Yeah, when you look at the first matchup against the New York Giants team on Christmas Eve, Dalvin Cook had 6 carries for about 45 yards, and that first quarter, averaging almost 6 yards to carry. The next 3 quarters, he only had 8 combined carries. This Minnesota Vikings team has to run the ball early, but also run the ball late and do it often and get Dalvin going, because when Dalvin gets his legs turning and he starts to get into a rhythm, I believe he's the best running back in the NFL. When he's been able to do that this year, we've seen Dalvin at his highest. Stick with it. Give him 20 to 25 carries a day and let him just be Dalvin.
And Jim and Pierre, the final one is not to overthink it. So Gabe and I are going to shake it loose. We're not going to overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
Let him play, right?
Let him play. Let him have fun. All these guys, they played NFL football before. It's just another game. A lot more people, a lot louder, but we've done this before, Don. We've done it before, and they've done it before. So let's get a win by more than the score.
Woo! From your lips to God's ears. Back to you guys.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Next on Game Day Live, a wild card edition of Sink or Sail. You are watching Vikings Game Day Live.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live. Jim Rich along with Pierre Nugent, and we're now bringing in Don Mitchell and Ahmad Hicks because this is a playoff edition of Sink or Sail. So this is where you really tap into the knowledge of all the experts here at Fox 9. And we're going to start with you, Don. Number one, the Giants. Will they sack Kirk Cousins at least 3 times today?
I'm sinking that, Jim. They've kept Kirk clean. We got Garrett Bradbury back. I'm feeling good.
And I think Christian Darrisaw is going to anchor this offensive line, and he takes a lot of pride in keeping number 8 up. So I think the Giants will not get that.
All right, Pierre.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with my colleagues here. I'm going to say they get 2 sacks, but not 3. So I'm going to sink it as well.
All right, Ahmad, you get to go first this time. Daniel Jones, we've talked about him, how the Giants are a team that has turned the ball over the fewest times this year in the NFL. Yet he's a youngster. This is his first crack in the playoffs. Does he throw at least 2 interceptions today? Sink or sail?
Well, I'm going to sink that. I don't think he throws 2 interceptions today, although I hope he does. The Vikings say, but I'm going to sink that one. I don't think he does.
You know, I'm going to sink it as well, but I think that there's going to be at least one, and it's either Harrison Smith or P2.
Yep, I agree.
Those are my calls.
All right, yeah.
I agree with Don. I think there's going to be one, but no more than one. I'm going to sink it as well. So far, we're all on the same page here, sinking across
Unanimous.
the board.
All right, here we go. Dalvin Cook rushes for over 100 yards. Pierre?
Well, I'm definitely going to sink that because how many games did he have this season with over 100 yards rushing? 1, maybe 2 that I can recall, but I'm definitely sinking it. I don't think he gets more than 100 yards.
All right, Don, what do you say for Dalvin today?
I'm sailing it. I'm thinking Dalvin is hungry. I think he has something to prove. All he heard about all week long was how good Saquon Barkley is. I'm gonna sail it.
I'm going to be optimistic like Don, and I'm going to sail it because if the Vikings want to come out victorious today, they're going to need to run the ball, and they're going to need 100+ yards from Cook.
All right, last one. Don, sink or sail. Vikings are headed to San Francisco next week.
I'm packing my bags, but I'm not getting ahead of myself.
Got 2 sails out here.
Yeah.
I'm going to sail it as well, but I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to sail it anyway. So, I guess I'll sail. Let's pack it back to the Bay Area. Yeah,
it's going to be rough seas. If they get there, it's going to be rough seas. We'll see you guys after the game. Thanks so much for the coverage today. Vikings postgame tonight comes your way at 10:35. Pete Persich will join Pierre and myself live then. That'll do it for us. The NFL on Fox is